Only have 3 days in Malaga? We'll show you exactly how to experience the city's best beaches, historic landmarks, incredible tapas, and breathtaking viewpoints without wasting a minute. Stay until the end because we're also revealing a hidden local spot most tourists completely miss. Day 1. Malaga's historic center and waterfront. Morning, Gibralfaro Castle. I always like to set eyes on the place I'm going to visit during the first day of the trip, so I headed straight to Gibralfaro Castle as my first stop in Malaga. Perched on a high ridge, this 14th century fortress was originally constructed to defend the Alcazaba below. Today, though, its main draw is the sweeping view. I passed quickly through the small military museum inside, it felt somewhat uninspiring, and made my way directly to the outer stone walls. Walking along the ramparts offers a full panorama of the bull ring, the harbor, and the cathedral. For the first time, the city's layout came into clear focus, and I spent around an hour tracing the streets I planned to explore later that day. A joint ticket for both the castle and the Alcazaba costs $5.50, and it's definitely the best option. If you're visiting on a Sunday, admission is free after 2 p.m., but expect larger crowds. Insider tip: avoid walking uphill from the city center at all costs. Instead, take bus 35 or a taxi to the top first, then descend on foot to the Alcazaba. This way, you can skip a grueling climb in the heat and can actually appreciate the stroll. Alcazaba. I walked down the path from the castle and headed into the Alcazaba. It's an 11th century Moorish fortress that's built to be both a royal home and a military stronghold. The dual purpose is evident as you explore. Imposing stone fortifications give way suddenly to tranquil courtyards lined with orange trees and the soft sound of flowing water. Instead of hurrying toward the main viewpoints, I took my time wandering through the gardens. The fragrance of jasmine and the network of narrow stone walkways lend the site a serene atmosphere, a striking contrast to the steep, maze-like entry gates you navigate to get in. The view from the castle was amazing, but the one that stuck with me the most was the one from the ramparts overlooking the Roman theater at the foot of the hill. It was a fantastic feeling to see the excavated ruins from those times and to understand the real scale of the fortress. Thanks to the combined ticket I bought earlier, I skipped the ticket counter altogether. If you're watching your spending, note that admission is free on Sundays after 2 p.m. Late morning. Roman Theater. After winding my way down the stone paths from the Alcazaba, I found myself standing right in front of the Roman Theater, a quiet treasure tucked into the heart of the city. Built in the 1st century BC, it's Malaga's oldest monument, though for 100 years, no one even knew it was there. It stayed hidden until 1951 when workers clearing land for a garden accidentally uncovered its ancient stones. The view from the ancient stone tiers is extraordinary as you stand in the middle of the modern-day city with the Moorish castle watching over your head, giving you chills of awe and disbelief at the different cultures that have been layered on top of each other for centuries. Before going inside the monument, I recommend stopping by the small interpretation center at the entrance, which is completely free of charge and only takes a few minutes to go through. But seeing the photos of the excavation helps put the discovery and its significance into perspective. The Roman Theater is entirely free to visit, and a tour takes only 20 to 30 minutes, making it a great pit stop before heading to grab a bite. Afternoon, lunch at Araboca. After spending the last hour exploring Roman ruins, I strolled just a few minutes down the street to Araboca, a cozy Casa de Vinos beloved by locals. It offers a more upscale environment than your average tapas spot, where the staff is genuinely interested in providing you with the history of their products on the menu. I skipped the heavy first courses and shared a few of the raciones. The red tuna tartare is unforgettable. silky, rich, and bursting with freshness, especially when sipped alongside a crisp local white. And you can't miss the oxtail croquette. They're deeply satisfying with a warm, hearty filling with an outer crunch so perfectly golden, it makes store-bought ones feel like a distant memory. Expect to pay between $40 and $60 per person if you're ordering a few plates and a glass of wine. I suggest letting the server choose your drinks instead of picking them yourself. Their knowledge of regional Andalusian wines is impressive, and the pairing they suggested for the tuna made the lunch feel like a much more high-end event than the price suggests. Picasso Museum. After a leisurely lunch, I strolled just 5 minutes to the Picasso Museum, nestled in the historic Buena Vista Palace, a 16th century gem with sturdy stone walls that effortlessly keep the summer warmth at bay. Knowing Picasso was born right here in Malaga adds a special touch. It's not just a display of iconic masterpieces, but an intimate look at his personal treasures. Early sketches, handcrafted ceramics, and works he chose to keep close throughout his life. I spent a relaxed hour and a half wandering through the space. One of the most memorable moments came in the basement. During renovations, workers uncovered ancient Phoenician and Roman ruins beneath the palace floor. Walking among weathered stones and the old salt fish tanks grounds you in centuries of history before you even reach the vibrant 20th century art upstairs. At $13 a ticket, it's a worthwhile visit, but since it's Malaga's top attraction, booking your timed entry online is a smart move to skip the sidewalk queues. Late afternoon, Málaga Cathedral. The cathedral, also known as La Manquita, is a beloved city landmark with a story of quiet resilience. Imagine a grand, centuries-old dream left unfinished. Construction halted in the 1700s when funds disappeared, leaving just one tower standing while the others remained a stub. This striking asymmetry has earned it the nickname the One-Armed Lady, a tender, slightly cheeky name that reflects how locals have embraced its imperfection as part of its charm. Inside, everything looks very solemn and high, creating a sense of vertigo. I lingered near the choir stalls, captivated by the intricate 17th century wood carvings, so finely detailed they appear to breathe. But the true magic unfolds above. Climbing 200 narrow stone steps is no small feat, but once you reach the rooftop, 40 meters above the city, the sea breeze rushing in from the port makes every ache worth it. From up here, the $16 ticket feels like a steal. Insider tip. Book the combined rooftop pass online a day before your visit. The staff runs these climbs on strict hourly headcounts, and if you try to get a walk-up slot at the gate, they'll likely tell you it's completely sold out. Evening, La Malagueta Beach. After leaving the cathedral, I strolled for about 20 minutes through the lively modern port, making my way straight to the La Malagueta Beach. Do not show up here expecting pristine, powdery white sand. The shore is made up of dark, coarse sand and tiny pebbles that will definitely scrape your feet if you're not wearing sandals. But what it lacks in tropical looks, it completely makes up for with vibrant, authentic local life. I settled right by the water's edge, letting the rhythmic crash of Mediterranean waves wash over me after hours spent marveling at church details. By 7 p.m., the scorching day begins to fade and the whole coastline comes alive. Joggers breeze past on the promenade, and families unfold chairs, turning the shore into a warm, communal evening retreat. I initially made the mistake of coming earlier under the harsh midday sun, a sweaty, relentless experience, but returning as the sun dips low transforms everything. This is when the beach truly finds its rhythm. Dinner at Pampa Grill. Long before I spotted the sign on Calle Sanchez Pastor, the rich, smoky scent of charcoal pulled me in. Stepping into Pampa Grill feels like joining a lively neighborhood cookout. Cozy, bustling, and full of energy, with no fancy finishes, just honest warmth from the grill and the hum of happy conversation. I went straight for the ojo de bife, and it was everything I hoped for. A thick, beautifully seared cut with a crust that crackled under my knife, seasoned simply so the flavor of the beef and the Malbec could shine. It's a world apart from the bland, overpriced steaks you get in the touristy spots. At around $55, it's not the cheapest bite in Malaga, but with meat this delicious, I'd happily do it all over again. Day 2. Gardens, art, and local neighborhoods. Morning. La Concepción Historical Botanical Garden. For the second day, I took an early taxi ride from the city center to La Concepción Garden, located on the Northern Highway. This is a 150-year-old botanical garden surrounded by a tropical jungle that offers amazing views over the valley. The whole place is covered in lush vegetation, dense thickets, and the constant sound of dripping water coming from several different waterfalls, and the entrance ticket cost me only around $6. I spent most of my time wandering under the enormous iron dome of the historic Wisteria Arbor and navigating the dirt paths through the massive bamboo forest. It feels completely separate from the dry, sun-baked streets of the beach areas down below. You can easily burn through 2 full hours just trying to find your way through the maze of tropical palms and hidden stone fountains. My exploration of this place was cut short by the relentless heat coming from the rocky incline leading to the viewpoints. There's not much of a view, to be honest. The ones over the reservoir and the distant cityscape are nothing compared to the experience of being under the large dome of the wisteria and bamboo forest. Insider tip. Skip the standard city bus for this trip because it drops you off at the main road, leaving you to hike a hot, miserable 15 minutes uphill just to reach the ticket booth. Spend the $10 on a taxi or rideshare app instead to get dropped off directly at the front entrance gates. Late morning, Carmen Thyssen Museum. Villalon Palace, located at the heart of the old town, was a worthy investment of my $11 spent on getting away from the sweltering heat. The museum offers an insight into 19th century Spanish art, which may have not been the most exciting thing to research on a hot afternoon, but the interiors of the palace are lined with vivid paintings of bandits, cattle fairs, and flamenco dances. The building is a 16th century palace, so one is exposed to a fascinating view of modern, white galleries surrounded by dark wood-paneled Renaissance rooms. First-floor rooms offer the highlights as the artist's brushwork captures the spirit of old Andalusia in the form of lively festivals and bull fiestas painted in a manner resembling modern photography. I was able to admire the works of art without any difficulties, as being much more impressive than the temporary exhibits displayed on the upper floors. Besides, it was easy to navigate since the museum's highlights can be seen within an hour's tour. Insider tip. If you're scraping for cash, skip the morning visit entirely. The museum drops the entry fee completely after 4 p.m. every Sunday, so you can walk right past the pay desk without spending a dime. Afternoon, lunch at Atarazanas Market. The scent of fried fish and salt lingers in the air as you approach this vast 19th century iron building, but the view inside is even more impressive. Built around the striking 14th century Moorish stone archway, Atarazanas Market proper is a whale of colors and aromas. But there's no time to dwell on its history. Inside the market, the clamor of haggling voices drowns out all other sound as shoppers browse the displays of octopus, shrimp stacks, and local olive produce. I wandered past the produce stalls for a while, enjoying the spectacle of everyday Spanish life. As I got hungry, I walked through the market to the seafood pavilions, where I searched for a place to eat. Tucked into the middle of the pavilion floor is Bar Mercado Atarazanas. It has no hosts, waiters, or reservation system. When the chairs open up, you can grab it, but you must be quick as the next person will be just as eager to fill the empty spot. The tiny kitchen is just outside the dining area, so cooks have to weave through the dining room to slide steaming plates of food in front of waiting customers. I landed on a stool and ordered a plate of boquerones al limón, lemon-fried anchovies, and a brocheta de gambas, a grilled prawn skewer. The anchovies were light, crispy, and not the least bit greasy, and the prawns were so fresh, they snapped when I bit into them. Most dishes here are between $7 and $13, which seems like a steal for seafood that was swimming around this morning. My glass of cheap, chilly white wine washed away the salt. It was a busy, bustling, messy lunch, but the food was fantastic. Insider tip. Never plan this trip for a Monday. The fishermen take Sundays off, so the entire seafood pavilion closes down at the start of the week, and the market bars will only have frozen leftovers instead of the daily catch. Soho District. The historical center is left far behind when wandering down the main street in Soho. This working-class district offers a bohemian vibe with massive street art murals, but the real action is in its labyrinth alleys. I couldn't stop admiring colossal, multi-storied graffiti paintings created by international street artists such as Obey or Deface. Taking a walk through the Soho valleys was an adventure as I explored unique art galleries, designer shops, and craft beer bars in search of masterpieces. The stylish art scene is the complete opposite of Malaga's traditional white churches. While searching for the works of revered street artists, I got lost and stumbled upon local designer shops in search of unique prints and gifts. This contemporary district is nothing like the old-world charm of Malaga's ancient plazas. Soho doesn't require a lot of exploring, as its alleys swallow its visitor in the blink of an eye, leading him or her to the next mural. Evening. Dinner at Restaurante Matisse. The open-air terrace inside the Molina Eladio Hotel is a welcome relief from the chaos of the city streets. The modern space is sleek and stylish, as well as offering a tantalizing menu that takes traditional Andalusian fare and elevates it to new creative levels. You can't go wrong with any of the small plates from the tapas section, so it's recommended to split a couple of different ones to sample each dish. The bluefin tuna tartare wafer for $12 and a plate of their creamy Iberian ham croquettes for $9 were our pick for the evening. The wafer is crisp and unexpectedly spicy due to the jalapeno emulsion, whereas the croquettes are rich, dense, and melt in your mouth effortlessly. For the main course, we'd paid around $26. Sharing the pickled bluefin tuna with citrusy puree is the perfect accompaniment to a glass of dry white wine from the regional mountains nearby. Overall, the ambiance manages to capture both fine dining and a relaxed lounge bar feel, which is a spectacular contrast to the lunchtime experience at the market. Day 3. Montes de Malaga and Coastal Escape. Morning. Montes de Malaga Natural Park. On our last day, we said goodbye to the coast and headed inland, swapping sea-kissed air for the crisp, earthy aroma of Aleppo pine forests. Winding up the A7000 mountain road, the city quickly faded into the rearview mirror. Within 20 minutes, it disappeared entirely. The Montes de Malaga Natural Park welcomes everyone freely, and the road leads you right through lush, forested hills that cradle Malaga's northern edge. We pulled over at Mirador del Cochino, where a charming stone wild boar sculpture greets visitors at the overlook. From 750 meters above sea level, the bay unfolds in a graceful arc below, with the port and shimmering Mediterranean stretching into the distance. On especially clear mornings, you might even spot the faint silhouette of Morocco across the water. A bit farther along the A7000, you'll find the main trailhead parking areas, conveniently located near the park's network of dirt paths. These trails meander past remnants of 19th century wine presses and beneath thick canopies of pine, offering a peaceful escape just moments from the city. It's a rare gift, a true wilderness experience so close to urban life. Insider tip. Skip the generic roadside turnouts and drive specifically to the parking pocket for the Pocopon Trail. A steep 15-minute foot climb from there takes you to the old fire lookout tower at the Pocopon viewpoint, which hands you a full 360-degree panoramic view of the entire mountain range that completely blocks out the city below. Late morning. Take a scenic hike. The park's vast trail system weaves through more than 5,000 hectares of protected wilderness, offering a different experience with every entry point. Near the city's southern edge, many hikers begin at the Picapedreros Boticaro trailhead, a 6.7-kilometer journey along a valley floor that leads to a secluded, seasonal waterfall. Over toward the eastern side, close to the lower recreation areas, the brief but steep Sendero El Cerrado loop climbs sharply beside the Jumena Hotel. Since we parked up north at Pocopon, it felt natural to start from there, picking up the circular paths that link the Pocopon viewpoint with Las Contadoras. This 5.4-kilometer loop takes about an hour and 45 minutes and offers a satisfying, well-rounded adventure along the high ridgelines. The trail begins on a broad trailhead just below the Fire Lookout Tower and heads south and down the gentle grade to the Aula de la Naturaleza de las Contadoras. A stone building deep within the forest is a good way to start. The trail's a mix of compacted red dirt and loose gray limestone. It felt good to walk this trail under the cooling shade of the Aleppo pines that make up the canopy along this route. Once past the stone structures at Contadoras, the trail turns west and into the Umbria de Contadoras section, following a steep grade back up into the north. The trail emerges from the tree cover into open expanses offering magnificent views of the deep ravines of the park that have been left completely wild and untouched. Trail markings were simple but effective, leading back to the Trailhead Pocket Park where the hike began. Insider tip: when you hit the trail split near the Las Contadoras stone building, don't miss the secondary path pointing down the hill toward the Lagar de Torrijos trail. While that separate trail officially starts at its own museum parking lot further down the A7000, this connector lets you combine loops to see the 1843 wine homestead without needing to drive your car to the other side of the forest. Mountain bike ride. Seeing a pack of cyclists zoom past me on the dusty trails, effortlessly gliding down the rugged slopes, reminded me just how perfect mountain biking is for exploring these wild hills. The park is threaded with more than 100 kilometers, or about 62 miles, of rough fire roads and forest paths, all winding through thick pine forests and connecting far-flung valleys that would take hours to reach by foot. Perched on the high ridgelines, gazing out over the sweeping trails that plunged toward distant river basins, I couldn't help but wish I'd rented a bike that morning. There's something truly thrilling about the speed and freedom of riding, covering so much ground, feeling so alive. To make sure you don't miss out, plan and pick up your bike before heading into the park. Since it's a protected forest reserve with strong environmental rules, there are no rental shops or storefronts inside. Everything has to be arranged outside the boundaries. In town, you'll find several outfitters offering solid hardtail mountain bikes for around $30 to $40 per day, while e-bikes typically go for about $45 to $65 a day. You can either bring a bike rack or carry your ride up with you, or ask the rental shop to deliver the bikes directly to your lodging. It's a small, extra step that makes the whole adventure so much smoother. Afternoon. Lunch at Montes de Malaga Natural Park. Hiking along those high-ridge trails really stirs up a hearty hunger. If you're in the mood for something simple and peaceful, the park offers cozy picnic spots nestled beneath tall pines, perfect for unpacking your own snacks while breathing in the fresh, resin-scented air. But if you're craving something warm and deeply satisfying, don't miss the local mountain favorite, Plato de los Montes. This generous dish is a feast in itself. Crispy golden potatoes piled high, crowned with a soft centered fried egg, juicy slices of pork loin bathed in spiced lard, smoky grilled chorizo, and rich, peppery black pudding. Since the trail leads straight to the main northern crossroads, it makes perfect sense to stop off the dirt path for about an hour to treat yourself at Bar Fuente de la Arena, just steps away on the roadside. If you're exploring the southern part of the forest, spots like Venta Carlos del Mirador or Venta Gelwe serve the same robust meals. But at Fuente de la Reina, tucked inside its lively, rustic dining room, the mountain platter runs between $12 and $15, and every bite delivers a deeply comforting mix of savory, hearty, and indulgent flavors that feel like a warm embrace after a long walk in the wild. Eco Museum, Lagar de Torrijos. Right after lunch, I rejoined the trail that leads steeply down into the valley, heading straight for the Eco Museum Lagar de Torrijos. It was the perfect midpoint in my hike. This beautifully restored 1843 winemaking homestead sits right along the lower stretch of the northern trail loop. As I stepped through the thick wooden doors, the cool, still air wrapped around me, carrying the quiet scent of aged stone, sun-dried wood, and centuries of dust. Moving through the rugged mountain paths into this preserved space felt like stepping into a living story, one that showed just how hard early families worked to build lives on these very slopes. I spent nearly an hour wandering through the different rooms, each telling its own piece of history. The centerpiece is a huge stone wine press, anchored by a massive wooden beam once used to crush the region's sweet grapes. A short walk away, I explored the original brick bread oven, the modest living spaces, and an old olive mill with heavy granite wheels still in place. Best of all, entry is completely free, an open invitation to connect with the area's rich farming roots most authentically. Insider tip: you need to time this entire hiking day perfectly because the museum keeps incredibly brief hours. It's completely closed from Monday through Wednesday. On Thursdays and Fridays, it only opens from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., while weekdays stretch from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the winter. Always verify the schedule before you plan your hiking route, or you'll end up staring at a locked iron gate right in the middle of your trek. Late afternoon, Pedregalejo Beach. Descending from the crisp embrace of the mountain pines straight down into the shoreline led me straight to Pedregalejo Beach, a world apart from the bustling energy of La Malaguita. This area once thrived as a quiet fishing village, and that easygoing, authentic spirit still lingers in the air. I strolled along the seaside walkway for about an hour, passing colorful wooden boats nestled in the sand, cozy crescent-shaped inlets, and lines of charming, low-rise homes facing the sea. Stone breakwaters cut across the shore, forming gentle, shallow pools where families splashed and paddled with carefree joy. The pace here was calmer, more rooted, less tourist-filled, more community-lived, with locals soaking up the golden light like it was a daily ritual. As I wandered past open-air terraces, the rich aroma of olive wood smoke mingled with the tang of sea air, drifting from old fishing boats now transformed into beachside grills. Watching cooks deftly thread glistening fish onto skewers felt like a delicious welcome to the coast's fresher flavors. A perfect shift from the hearty mountain fare I'd left behind. Reinvigorated by the salty breeze, I continued a few blocks to the promenade, ready to find a little table for one last meal by the sea. Evening, dinner at El Cabra Restaurant. I grabbed a table at El Cabra Restaurante, a beloved seaside spot on the Pedregalejo Promenade that's been dishing out fresh seafood since 1965. Its laid-back terrace buzzes with energy, perched just above the sand with the ocean breeze rolling in. You absolutely can't miss the espetos de sardinas, 6 plump sardines threaded onto a bamboo skewer and grilled over fragrant olive wood fires, lit right on the beach inside repurposed fishing boats. The result? Crispy, smoky skin with tender, juicy flesh inside. At around $6 a skewer, it's a steal. For something heartier, go for the fried baby squid, about $14, and enjoy every delightfully crunchy bite. Here's a little insider tip. Skip the printed menu and ask the server what's fresh that day. Locals know this is the best way to score perfectly pan-seared sea bass or sweet red prawns, with prices set by that morning's catch. It's the perfect place to unwind by the water, letting the rhythm of the waves wrap up your 3-day Malaga getaway on a high note. Useful info for spending 3 days in Malaga. Best time to visit Malaga. If you want to see Malaga without melting into the pavement, aim for spring or fall. This city's built for walking and navigating the steep stone paths up to Gibralfaro Castle, or exploring the massive murals in Soho is much more enjoyable when you aren't fighting a heat wave. April, May, September, and October are the months that actually feel right. During these windows, the thermometer usually stays between 18 and 25 degrees Celsius or 64 and 77 degrees Fahrenheit. It's warm enough to grab an outdoor table for a seafood lunch at the market, but it avoids that suffocating, heavy humidity that takes over the coast in the middle of July. Winter's a solid alternative if you prefer having the monuments to yourself. Temperatures usually hover between 13 and 18 degrees Celsius or 55 and 64 degrees Fahrenheit. The rooftop climb at the cathedral might be a bit chilly on a windy January afternoon, but the Picasso Museum is far less crowded, and the rest of the city feels much more relaxed throughout the year. Airport tips. Malaga Costa del Sol is the only airport worth flying into, and it sits only 8 kilometers or 5 miles from the city center. The C1 train is the most efficient way to get into town. The station is a 3-minute walk from the arrivals hall, and the train pulls out every 20 minutes. I paid $2 for a one-way ticket to the Alameda Principal Station, which took 12 minutes and dropped me off right at the edge of the historic district. If you're carrying heavy luggage, a taxi takes about 15 minutes and costs between $25 and $30. Because the old town's almost entirely a pedestrian zone, the driver will have to drop you off at the boundary of the neighborhood, so be ready to walk to the final stretch to your hotel. I'd also keep an eye on flights into Sevilla if you find a deal that saves you $300. The high-speed train to Malaga takes 2 hours, and the ride is smooth enough that it's worth the extra travel time. Where to stay? Malaga is so compact that you can pick a neighborhood based on the noise level you can handle rather than just the distance to the monuments. I made the mistake of staying right in the historic center once, and the 3 a.m. echo of rolling suitcases and shouting crowds over the marble streets was a total nightmare. It is the heart of the action, but I would find myself a room in a quiet alley a few blocks back if I wanted any actual sleep. Soho's the smarter move for better value. It has a gritty, artistic energy with murals on every corner and puts you only 10 minutes from the main market. If you want to be near the Mediterranean, La Malagueta is about 200 meters or 650 feet from the sand, though it feels more like a standard tourist resort. For something that feels like a real community, I'd head 4 kilometers or 2.5 miles east to Pedregalejo. It's an old fishing village where the buildings are low and the pace is much slower. Prices change fast depending on the season. A simple guest house or a solid hostel will run you about $90 and $160. Mid-range boutique hotels usually land between $190 and $350, while the high-end spots with views of the harbor can easily push past $450. I'd personally stick to Soho or the center. Both areas let you navigate the whole city on foot without the headache of figuring out bus routes or paying for taxi rides. How to get around. Malaga is a tight maze of marble-paved streets where cars are mostly banned, making it a city built for wandering on foot. I find that almost every major landmark in the center is reachable within a 15-minute walk. To get in from the airport, which is only 8 kilometers or 5 miles away, the C1 train is the smartest option. It costs $2 and reaches the Alameda Principal Station in 12 minutes, dropping you right at the edge of the historic district. If you're heading to the steep ridge of Gibralfaro Castle, I suggest taking a $10 taxi directly to the top. The city bus costs $1.50, but it often drops you off at the base of the hill, leaving you with a grueling climb in the heat. I'd avoid a rental car entirely until you're ready to head into the mountains. Parking in the center is a disaster that costs $25 a day, and the city's compact enough that a vehicle just becomes an expensive liability. Staying on foot is the only way to actually feel the energy of the back streets without the stress of navigating traffic. Where to eat? Malaga has no shortage of great spots, but if I had a few extra meals to throw into the mix, these are the exact places I'd hit first. For a real deal local institution, check out Cortijo de Pepe. Sitting across from Plaza de la Merced since the 1970s, this spot is filled with the scent of charcoal and roasting meat. They specialize in classic tapas like smoky grilled octopus and small salted pinchito skewers. A full meal here usually runs between $30 and $45 per person. If you want a high-energy, chef-driven environment, get a table at La Cosmopolita. This loud, crowded restaurant focuses on inventive Andalusian flavors like their famous creamy ensaladilla rusa topped with fish roe or rich grilled bone marrow. Depending on how many plates you share, you expect to spend around $60 to $85 a person. For a unique vegetarian or vegan meal, head to Canadu on the northern edge of Plaza de la Merced. They serve hearty dishes like vegetable couscous and zaitan meatballs in a rich almond sauce. A full dinner here usually runs between $35 and $55 per person. I'm absolutely thrilled I swapped crowded beach resorts for Soho's secret street art and the breathtaking highland paths of the Montes. This cozy 3-day adventure is perfect for travelers who'd rather explore the heart of a city and its wild surroundings than just rushing through terminals. If you love discovering lesser-known gems, hit like and subscribe for more off-the-grid journeys. And right here, I've linked my next guide, packed with hidden hilltop castles and serene palm-shaded forests in Alicante, ready to inspire your next escape.